Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast. Apple's recent decision to suspend its AI-driven news summarization feature marks a significant moment in the ongoing tension between artificial intelligence and journalistic integrity. The feature, introduced as part of Apple's broader Apple Intelligence initiative, aimed to streamline news consumption by condensing multiple notifications into a single alert for iPhone users. However, after several high-profile inaccuracies, some alarmingly serious, the tech giant is now facing scrutiny over the reliability of its AI-driven approach to information delivery. The BBC's complaint against Apple was not a minor quibble, but a response to a grave error. An AI-generated news alert, bearing the BBC's trusted logo, falsely reported that Luigi Mangione, accused of the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, had taken his own life. Given the weight of such a claim, the consequences of this misinformation were far-reaching. But this was not an isolated incident. Another AI-generated notification incorrectly announced that Luke Littler had won the PDC World Darts Championship before he had even played. A different alert misleadingly suggested that tennis legend Rafael Nadal had come out as gay. Even more alarmingly, a fabricated notification attributed to the New York Times claimed that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had been arrested, an incendiary claim with serious geopolitical ramifications. These blunders raise a fundamental question. Can AI be trusted to summarize and disseminate news with the same level of accuracy and editorial judgment as human journalists? Misinformation is hardly a new problem in the digital age. Social media platforms have long struggled to contain the spread of fake news, conspiracy theories, and misleading headlines. But Apple's misstep is particularly revealing because it highlights a deeper issue. When AI-generated content carries the branding of respected news organizations, it assumes an air of credibility that makes errors even more damaging. News alerts are not just another form of digital content. They are immediate, often urgent, and can influence public perception in real time. A false notification about a high-profile arrest or a major sporting event can spread rapidly before corrections can be issued. In an era where trust in journalism is already fragile, AI-generated inaccuracies can exacerbate skepticism toward the media as a whole. The problem is not just one of credibility, it is one of accountability. Unlike a human journalist who can be held responsible for an editorial failure, AI operates in a grey area where responsibility is difficult to assign. Apple's decision to suspend the feature reflects an acknowledgement of its failings, but whether this is a temporary retreat or a fundamental rethink remains to be seen. The company has stated that it is working on improvements, including AI-generated warnings about potential errors and the use of italicized text to indicate uncertainty. However, such tweaks may not be enough to restore confidence. The BBC has welcomed Apple's decision, emphasizing that accuracy is paramount to maintaining trust with audiences. The National Union of Journalists in the UK had already called for the feature's removal, arguing that AI-driven news summaries risked contributing to the spread of misinformation rather than mitigating it. This backlash underscores a broader concern within the journalism industry. While AI holds promise as a tool for assisting reporters, automating news summaries without human oversight can lead to severe reputational and ethical consequences. AI has made impressive strides in natural language processing, but it still struggles with nuance, context, and the subtleties of human communication. Unlike a human editor, an algorithm cannot weigh the ethical implications of a news story or cross-check sources with an understanding of historical context and potential biases. Moreover, AI models operate based on patterns in data, which means they can sometimes hallucinate information, generating plausible but entirely false statements. In the case of Apple's news summaries, this phenomenon appears to have resulted in fabricated headlines that were then presented as legitimate news alerts. This issue is not exclusive to Apple. Other major tech firms, including Google and Meta, have experimented with AI-driven news aggregation, often with mixed results. Google's AI-generated summaries have faced criticism for presenting misleading or out-of-context information, while Meta's past efforts to automate news curation have sometimes resulted in bizarre editorial failures. AI is not inherently at odds with journalism, but its role needs to be carefully defined. Some of the most promising applications of AI in newsrooms include fact-checking assistance, automated transcription services, AI-driven data analysis, and personalized content delivery. Used responsibly, AI can enhance journalism by helping reporters verify claims, process vast amounts of data efficiently, and tailor news recommendations without compromising editorial standards. However, fully automating the editorial process, especially for breaking news, is fraught with risks. The challenge for Apple, and for the industry as a whole, is to harness AI's capabilities without sacrificing the rigor and reliability that define responsible journalism. Apple's retreat on AI-generated news summaries may signal a turning point in how tech companies approach automated journalism. While AI remains a powerful tool for processing and delivering information, it is clear that without robust safeguards, it can become a vehicle for misinformation rather than an asset for truth. The deeper issue at play is not just Apple's AI missteps, but the broader question of whether artificial intelligence can ever be truly reliable as an autonomous news curator. Unlike human editors who are trained to recognize bias, verify sources, and contextualize information, AI functions purely through pattern recognition and probability. It does not understand news in the way a journalist does. It merely predicts the most statistically likely summaries based on existing datasets. The flaws in this approach become evident when misinformation is inadvertently generated and then framed with the authority of a major news organization's branding. This disconnect between AI's computational efficiency and its lack of editorial judgment poses a particularly pressing challenge for technology companies racing to integrate artificial intelligence into consumer products. The goal, in theory, is to make information more accessible, digestible, and personalized. But when those efforts result in demonstrable errors, especially in news content, the consequences can range from public confusion to reputational damage for both the tech firm and the news outlets unwittingly implicated in the process. Apple's decision to introduce AI-generated summaries in the first place was part of a larger trend among tech companies attempting to automate journalism, a field already struggling with economic and structural upheaval. News organizations worldwide have been contending with declining ad revenue, shrinking newsrooms, and shifting reader habits that favor bite-sized digital content over traditional reporting. The rise of AI-driven summarization tools plays into this changing landscape, but it also introduces a new existential concern. Speed and convenience can never come at the expense of truth. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Deeper Thinking podcast, an audio essay read by me, Holly, your digital narrator. Until next time.